Hello everybody, Maven here, and I am extremely hyped to share this build that I cooked up today with the new Exotic Strand SMG, the Barrow-Dyad. This thing is ridiculous, and I'm not just saying that because it's new. And it could be stronger. We don't even have access to the catalyst yet, so it could be 35% stronger because it can get one for all. And when you pair this SMG with a very particular setup on Prismatic Hunter, along with none other than the Speedloader Slacks, a very under-the-radar exotic, this SMG can do some very chaotic and very fun things. I'm telling you, if you are a Hunter player, you 100% have to give this build a try. This very well may be my new favorite Hunter build. If not, it's a top contender for sure. So let me break down exactly what it can do. Hope you enjoy. Shout out to our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 gaming supplement in the world. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off. Link down below. Thank you. Alright, so let's check out the new Barrow-Dyad. So it has a perk panic response. This weapon generates blight as it deals damage. That's that meter on the bottom left. While not firing, blight depletes and the magazine is gradually refilled. Reload the weapon to convert stored blight into blighted seekers. So let me show you against Carl what this does. As I damage him, you can see the meter on the bottom left fill up. That's our blights, and when I reload, it's going to turn that into these blight rounds. And you can see around the reticle on your screen, it's filled up 5 out of 6 blights. That's how many I have loaded, and it will diminish if you let that bar on the bottom left run out, so use them quickly. And the burst damage it deals isn't that great against chunkier targets like Carl, but it's incredible for ad clear. Now you can see I can continue to shoot Carl and fill up that blight meter, but then I can choose to not reload, and that's going to make that blight meter gradually go down, but it's going to make my magazine auto refill so I can keep on filling it and then try to get all 6 blight shots. I know it seems pretty slow, but there is a way to quicker fill that blight meter, and that is with its other perk, Taken Divergence. Hitting 3 different targets generates a large amount of blight. Blighted seekers bore through targets. So let me show you here in Breakneck. When I shoot 3 separate targets, such as the perk One for All, watch my blight meter, it just zooms up to over half. So that is going to be the main way you're going to want to use the Barrow-Dyad. It is meant for ad clear. Use it for ad clear. It is a beast at that. As you can see here, when I run through Breakneck, I am just tearing through these mobs like it's nobody's business. And I don't even have to sugarcoat it. It speaks for itself. I mean, just look at that. It's one of the best ad clear weapons in the entire game. And it's even going to get better. It's not even at its final form. But how does this weapon fare in the single target damage department? Well, let's go up against Carl. And as you can see, it's not the best thing in the world. It's definitely more meant for ad clear. However, like I said, still going to get One for All, still going to get Taken Ambition. It's going to be better, but right now it's kind of average. Now, compared to a lot of other exotic primaries in the game, this is actually pretty decent. It is not that bad, but it's competing in the same slot and for the same purpose as the Final Warning, which is the single strongest exotic primary in the entire game. As you can see here against Carl, with the new catalyst that's just gotten episode echoes, the Final Warning is able to take out Carl in 2 clips, something that a lot of other exotic primaries in the game cannot do. I believe this is the only one that can do that. The Final Warning is just criminally underused. It's a powerhouse. I've used it in Grandmaster Nightfalls. I've used it in Day Ones. The thing is a beast if you just want consistent damage output. But while it may be great for damage, it's a little more sluggish in the ad clear department because it has to charge up a bit. That's not a problem with the Barrow-Dyad, and also the burst damage of the blights can't go wrong. So the Barrow-Dyad definitely wins for ad clear. But to be honest with you, the base ad clear capabilities of the Barrow-Dyad aren't that great, but it's today's build that makes it great, and that's with the Speedloader Slacks. The Speedloader Slacks says that dodging boosts reload speed, handling, and airborne effectiveness for you and nearby allies. While the buff is active, final blows and additional dodges increase the buff strength and refresh the timer, maxes out at 5 stacks. So with this exotic, you're pretty much always going to be at 5 stacks. It's really easy to stay at 5 stacks, and the buff timer is very, very generous. And you're always going to have plus 55 reload speed and a 0.89x reload duration multiplier, so you're going to have those blinding fast reloads. And why do we care about these blinding fast reloads? Well, because in order to charge the Blight Seekers on your Barrow-Dyad, you have to reload, and that is where all of your add clear power comes from, those blighted seeking explosions. So you can just fire off half a mag, reload, fire off half a mag, reload, and just keep repeating that, and it's going to be very, very fast. Now, yes, you could get a lot more damage out of an exotic such as the Peacekeepers, but then your add clear would be suffering, because damage buffs don't matter as much as add clear perks when it comes to exotic primary add clear weapons. Because the thing about adds is they're meant to be fragile and they're meant to be abundant. You want the add clear perks, that's what it's all about. So therefore the Speedloader Slacks are going to be more beneficial for that type of area. And aside from the reload, the other reason the add clear is so good on this exotic specifically this season is because we have a couple artifact mods really helping it out, and that's Unraveling Orbs and Horde Shuttle to give us infinite unraveling rounds and infinite threadlings. Now, Unraveling Orbs says that picking up an orb of power or a tangle grants unraveling rounds, and it's easy enough to pick up an orb of power as it is, but it's even easier to spam tangles because if you have unraveling rounds, everything in the room's unraveled. Those unraveling seekers just fly everywhere and tag everything. So there's bound to be a tangle somewhere, since when an unraveled enemy dies, it creates a tangle. So just look around, there's probably a tangle somewhere in the room. And Horde Shuttle says that damaging unraveled targets with the weapon occasionally spawns a threadling. So there's seekers everywhere, there's threadlings everywhere, stuff dies without you even looking at it or thinking about it. It's just, there's damage flying around all over the battlefield, and that's what I love about this 2 mod combination with any Strand weapon for that matter. So I know people are hyping up Arc and Void right now, but don't sleep on Strand. Whenever Horde Shuttle is in the artifact, it's gonna be a good season for Strand. Now, to be honest, the overall build itself would be stronger if you ran a more supportive exotic such as the Assassin's Cowl or the Sealed Ahamkara Grasp or whatever else. Doesn't matter, there's a lot of options, but I just wanted to build solely around the new exotic, and having lightning fast reloads is the way to do so. That being said, today's build isn't really meant for Omega Tough content, but more so for general play, and in that department it's mind-blowingly fun. This is easily one of the funnest builds I've ever played, and it perfectly fits my playstyle. I love grapple spam, and especially love me some explosive add clear. And like I said before, this build is only gonna get stronger. Much, much stronger. Right now, it's just more fun than it is good, but it's about to be a beast once we get our hands on the catalyst for the Barrow-Dyad, so we can have one for all for 35% more damage. And on top of that, it's going to have the intrinsic of Taken Ambition that gives us 2 massive benefits to our damage potential. The first ability says that the blight generated increases the longer this weapon remains on a target. And you saw earlier against Carl, it takes like 2 mags or so to fully charge your blight against a single target, but with this new perk, I'm guessing it's only going to take 1, which will really help this thing's DPS a lot, so maybe it can actually compete with the final warning. And furthermore, Taken Ambition also says that blighted seekers burrow into targets and explode, as if the setup with Horde Shuttle and unraveling rounds wasn't already explosive enough. So my guess is that this thing is going to be absolutely jaw-dropping with Taken Ambition. I'm already impressed with it as it is, but it's literally about to be borderline broken, and I am beyond hyped for that. Dude, imagine pairing this thing with the Peacekeepers for that juicy 100% damage buff on top of having one for all and the blighted seekers that explode. This thing's damage output is going to be through the roof. So Titan mains out there, keep an eye out for that once this new perk drops. We already got confirmation from Bungie that it's coming out in Act 2, which is nearly a month away. And that's unfortunately the largest time gate we've ever had for something like this in Destiny history, but you know how it is with Bungie. But anyways, let's finally break down the build. So as you might have noticed, I've been spamming a ton of abilities, all 3 of my abilities, my grapple, my shurikens, and my dodges, and this build allows you to do that very consistently, and I'll explain how. So just as a warning, I'm going to be spitting fire, okay? I'm going to be spitting bars. It's going to be hard to keep up, and I hope you guys understand, but I'm going to rapid fire this breakdown. I'm going to speed run it, so let's go. So let's start with our class ability, which is going to have Winter Shroud tied to it, so dodging nearby targets slows them, and slowing targets just briefly increases your class ability regeneration, and we want to spam that, which is why we have Withering Blade as our melee of choice, because it also slows targets. And then we have Facet of Hope. This is while you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly, and we're always going to have Radiant from Facet of Dawn. This is powered melee hits or final blows grant you and nearby allies Radiant, so Facet of Hope should always be active. And the fact that these three abilities are going to give us a lot of dodge energy means we also get a lot of melee energy, because our dodge happens to be a gambler's dodge. And the great thing about Winter Shroud with Withering Blade is when you dodge near a target and get a shuriken back, when you hit them with the shuriken, that'll apply the rest of the slow you need to freeze them. And then when it comes to spamming our grapple as much as possible, you got to remember that grapple is the most unique grenade ability in the game because it has the grapple punch, which also counts as a powered melee. Therefore, it will proc glove mods like heavy-handed. Even though it only works with powered melee final blows, grapple is a powered melee. So that is going to make an orb of power, which will then proc things like Absolution and Innervation on our boost to get a ton of grapple energy back, but Absolution also helps your melee and your dodge as well. And this is the holy trinity of grapple mods on the gloves. Whenever I'm playing Strand, this is always a 3-mod combination I run. Grenade Kickstart obviously gets some free energy back, and then Impact Induction is very interesting with grapple. Causing damage with a powered melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. Typically you'd think that'd take a shuriken, but remember, grapple is also a powered melee, so it can proc it on itself, therefore acting as another pseudo kickstart. So along with grenade kickstart, that's basically double kickstarts. And finally, we have Facet of Balance. That says that rapid darkness final blows grants grenade energy, and everything we do is darkness. Grapple, Unravel, all those Horde shuttle threadlings we got going on, the Winter Shroud, the stasis from Withering Blade, and then we got the Barrow-Dyad. Like, everything we're doing is darkness, therefore everything is feeding into our grapple energy. So that was the quick speedrun summary of how we're able to spam all three of our abilities pretty much back to back, and this is a setup that also works on stasis, which is a setup that I featured in my Mask of Fealty video. Shameless plug if you wanted to go and check that out. And it's actually more effective on stasis. It's literally infinite ability spam. Now when it comes to survivability on this build, that is what our last two fragments are for. So we got Facet of Protection to get a 15% damage resist while we are surrounded, and then we got Facet of Purpose, so collecting an orb of power will give us an overshield because we're using Tether as our super. But our main method of survivability is going to be Stylish Executioner, with all of the slow from the shurikens and the dodges we're doing and all of the unraveling seekers flying around. Pretty much every single kill is going to proc Stylish Executioner and make us invisible. Now let's break down the rest of our mods, starting from the helmet and going down. We got Hands-On and Dynamo. These two are going to be proccing constantly with all the punching and dodging we're doing. And then of course we got to have Strand Siphon for our SMG. Then we already went over that holy grail of grapple mods on our gloves. Then on our chest we just got triple resists. On our boots, Innervation, Absolution, and then Recuperation, so we get some health back when we pick up an orb. And then on our class item we got Bomber for more grapple energy when we dodge, Powerful Attraction to make it easy to scoop up orbs around us, and then Reapers, so after dodging, our next weapon kill is going to make an orb. Now for the stat distribution, obviously got to go with tier 100 in Resilience and Discipline, and then tier 8 is the sweet spot for Gambler's Dodge, but I couldn't quite hit that, but definitely reach 8 if you can. And then after that, just dump the rest into Strength. Now for our loadout with the build, you can really run whatever you want in your energy and your heavy slot, but I ultimately ended up on a blinding grenade launcher and then a linear fusion rifle for particle deconstruction, which I still don't have unlocked, by the way, but it's still there just in case you have it unlocked. But yeah, I have a blinding GL because I feel like I'm maining my SMG a majority of the time, and the blinding GL just helps to keep me alive if I'm in the face of a chunkier target. But yeah, you can basically run whatever in these two slots. And that about does it for the build. It's an extremely fun, chaotic, and explosive build, and if you're a Hunter player, I highly recommend giving this a try. It is a blast. So as always, the dim loadout link for the build will be down below in the description, and also the pinned comment if you'd like to give it a try. And if you got any buddies who are Hunter mains, I'd appreciate if you consider sharing the video with them. Perhaps this is something they might want to try out. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you think about the build and if there's anything you would change about it. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here for more episode heresy content on the way. And remember to check out our sponsor, Advanced GG, code Maven at checkout for 10% off your order, link down below. And I will catch you in the next video. See you later.